Harriet Tubman and the Underground Railroad. You are no better than a table, a chair, or a wagon. You are a piece of property belonging to a plantation owner in the South. You want to be free, but you never expect to. One day you hear about Moses, who will set you free. This person they called Moses is actually a lady called Harriet Tubman. Harriet Tubman was a runaway slave from Maryland. She was born into slavery in the 1820s as Araminta Ross to Ben and Harriet Green Ross. As a child, Harriet had suffered an injury to the head while helping a fellow slave escape. She was in a coma for weeks because of that. Harriet had experienced a miraculous recovery, but as a result, she still suffered from seizures. Harriet had always had a dream to escape, but this incident made her take her dream even more seriously.
I had reasoned this out in my mind. There was one or two things I had a right to, liberty or death. If I could not have one, I would have the other.
In 1844, Harriet married John Tubman, a free black who did not believe in running away to freedom like Harriet did. Although she tried convincing him to go to the North with her, he had strongly refused. In 1849, Harriet's abolitionist neighbors gave her a piece of paper with the names of two people's houses, and she was told how to find it. This was what had led Harriet to her freedom. Now it was Harriet's turn to free the slaves. She joined the crew of the Underground Railroad and became a conductor. From 1850 to 1860, she made 19 trips to the South, conducting over 300 runaway slaves north. She armed at plantations on late Saturday nights disguised as an old woman and led groups out on Sunday. She never lost a single passenger. In 1857, she rescued her family. Harriet Tubman soon became one of the most important members of the Underground Railroad. Slave owners were angered and terrified of this person called Moses. A $40,000 bounty was put up for her. I looked at my hands to see if I was the same person now that I was free. There was such a glory over everything. The sun came like gold through the trees and over the fields, and I felt like I was in heaven. The Underground Railroad has existed for a long time. It first started out with a small group of people who were against slavery and helped the fugitives to safety. It got its name because the houses and rest stops on it were known as stations, the fugitives were known as passengers, and the people who helped the passengers travel from one station to another were known as the conductor. The journey was very long and dangerous. First, the slave had to escape from their owners, which they would usually plan on their own or with the help of other slaves. Then, the slave had to travel through dangerous woods while watching out for slave patrollers. To reach freedom, it took slaves almost a year. The Underground Railroad had over 200,000 members. Many of these people contributed indirectly by donating money or supplies. Others, such as Harriet Tubman, would help slaves on their way to freedom or forge freedom passes and letters. Most of the time, a slave would walk the whole distance to freedom. Sometimes, slaves would travel in a wagon, a boat, by a carriage, or by a train. In 1908, Harriet Tubman built an old-age home in Auburn, New York, and moved in there. On March 10, 1913, about 5 years later, in the home she built, she died of pneumonia. Even today, Harriet Tubman remains as an American icon. Many institutions and organizations have been named after her. The U.S. Postage Service even issued a stamp in recognition of her great deeds.